أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وأما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المتين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله الذي أنزل الكتاب بالحق والميزان وما يدريك لعل الساعة قريب صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I extend my greetings to all of you, to our leadership, Hazrat Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, Maraji al-Taqleed, Maqam al-Azam al-Ahbari. Today we wanted to have a little discussion concerning Mizan, concerning this concept of balance. And I often try to remind people of this when we speak, specifically in these gatherings, when we're addressing primarily young people, the future of Islam in the country. More and more, because we're living in this country, our practice of Islam is being influenced by external forces. And so you see that many Muslims these days are practicing their Islam in a deficient manner. We've been influenced by various trends of thought. And so you'll find, for instance, in the way we look at our religion, the way we conceptualize of Islam, the way we see it for ourselves, a lot of times it's within and through the spectacles of Christianity or Judaism. And although all of us are Ahl Kitab, all of us are those peoples of the book, nations who have received a book from their creator, Christians, Jews, and Muslims. Yet we have to be on our guard when we're living in a, let's just say, predominantly secular society that has strong overtones of Christianity or Judaism, that Judeo-Christian culture that exists here. When we look at our religion, then we look at it as Christians and Jews look at their religion. And one aspect that falls away from our close attention to Islam is this concept of balance. And actually, it's much more well represented in Eastern religions. For instance, when you look at Buddhism, and we had mentioned that earlier today, when they look at their religion and consider their religion and try to give some idea to their religion, then balance is something that comes right up front, from the very beginning. Taoist philosophy is based on this concept of balance. Balance between yin and yang. Balance between those aggressive and positive forces and those more, how can we say, opposite of aggressive, those passive forces, exactly. So this is very much at the forefront of their concept of religion. Whereas it also has a central role in Islam. But we don't take a close look at it and don't internalize it, imbibe it into ourselves and in our daily practice of religion. So when we think of this word of balance, many times what comes to our mind is something like a balanced meal. Very important to have a balanced meal. This morning we had a very balanced breakfast. We had eggs, which was our protein. We had potatoes, which was our carbohydrates. And they even supplied us with some fruit, which tidied it all up at the end with some fiber and some sweet, some dessert. So this, we look at it like a balanced meal. When we think about this idea of balance also, we think about, for instance, balance in our personal lives, in our emotional lives. We want to be balanced emotionally. And Islam preaches this, that we don't want to be those people that lose our temper too quickly. We also don't want to be those people that are just always happy and giddy and lose sight of ourselves also in this way. So balance, when we mention this word, especially in English, of balance, many concepts come to our mind concerning balance. However, in Islam and in our practice of this religion, balance also is applicable. The best way that I could explain that for you is to go back over this verse of Quran. Send salam. This verse that we had read for you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allahu alladhi anzala al-kitaba bil-haqq. Allah is the one who revealed the book with truth. Wal-Mizan, and the balance. This first portion of this verse makes it very clear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the book, this kitab. Kitab mentioned in this particular verse of Quran is referring to Kitabullah al-Quran. So Allah revealed the Quran, but this Quran, we know that it was pre-existing before its revelation. It's not that it only came into existence when it was revealed to Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It has an existence that predates this revelation in that book that is guarded and maintained by Allah, that was it, Lawh Mahfuz. This Quran had an existence before it was revealed by Prophet to men. So Allah reveals the Quran and bil-haq, with the truth. But then he says, wal-mizan. And this wow here joins the mizan to what comes before it. So balance is revealed also by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the same way that the Quran was revealed, which shows how absolutely necessary balance is in our practice of Islam. So we could look at just some very outward aspects. We mentioned being balanced emotionally. We have a hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, where Imam Ali says, the most powerful of people is he who overcomes his anger. So when we're afflicted with some anger, we're upset about something, real power is not to jump up and down and yell and scream and wave our arms and fight. Although in our Western culture, we interpret this as power. Power is who's the loudest. Power is who's the strongest. Power is who's the most aggressive. Power, according to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali, in this specific area, is who can control their anger, not lose control of themselves. The same is true with happiness. And it's mentioned over and over again in hadith that when a mu'min, when a believer is satisfied and happy, or when he's upset and angry, he maintains that balance. Yani his good mood doesn't overcome him so that he's giddy and happy and making inordinate bad jokes or doing these type of things. At the same time also, he shouldn't be an angry person, an aggressor. So this idea of balance is well established for us in Dars Akhlaq, in our akhlaqi and etiquette and moral teachings of Islam. And it's also mentioned repeatedly in various ways in Quran. Al-Mizan itself, I forgot to mention in the beginning. Al-Mizan is mentioned in Quran 11 times. And most of these mentionings of Al-Mizan in Quran has to do with weighing and measuring things when you're selling. And Allah makes it very clear that when we weigh things for sale, we should be fair with that, we should be honest with that, not, keep one finger on the scale so that it makes it heavier, we can make a little more money, or shortchange people. Most of the references to Mizan in Quran are from this point of view, but a few, like the verse that we read, have to do with maintaining balance in one's life. Often we think that this maintaining of balance is so very difficult, especially in the Western world, and we try to make an excuse, oh, it's so hard here, we're so busy here, we have to work so hard here. How is it that we can maintain a balance? Like this morning, I heard someone say, it's good that we sit around the tables and eat family style, because we don't get a chance to do that anymore. this idea that because we're working so hard, we're spending so much time at our jobs, life is so hectic, traffic in LA is hellacious. And so we think that for some reason we can't maintain balance. There's absolutely no way that we can maintain balance. A few years ago, I personally started looking into this issue as far as how can we establish balance in our lives? How is it that we can attain that station in life where we are not doing ifrat or tafrit? We're not going from one extreme to the other. As often we end up doing in the West, we'll work 60, 70 hours a week, and then we go to the other extreme and take weeks off and don't do anything in that time. Or we have this idea of retirement. That, I'm going to work hard till I hit 55, 60, 65, and then I'm going to retire. And that's when I'm going to take it easy. And just in this note, just to throw it out there real quick, one of the companions of Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, he owned a farm and a little store where he sold his farm produce, and he had reached an advanced age. He didn't feel like farming anymore. So he made a determination he's going to sell his farm and rent out the shop, and he'll retire. He'll sit down. And he himself, he says, I will use this time in ibadat. I think it's so beautiful that many of us also have this idea that I will work for my company now, and I'll spend my time now at my job, but when I retire, I'll spend my time reading Quran, I'll spend my time with namaz, I'll spend my time in fasting, and we have this idea that when I retire, that's when those things will happen. When Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam heard that his companion was going to sell his property and rent the store out, immediately he writes a letter to him. He says, do not do this. Do not do this, because when you stop working, it makes your aql, your intellect, decrease. And I mean, we see it in the West all the time. These old guys that work their whole life, they work their entire life, and the minute they retire now, they start getting sick. They get the Alzheimer's, they got the heart problems, the breathing problems, the whatever problems. Once they retire now, things start going downhill. Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam says, do not do this. Retirement is not a concept that exists in Islam. Don't have this idea that today I'll be imbalanced in my life, but I'll make up for it later on. This verse of Quran that we mentioned alludes to that. It says that many people do not realize how close the hour is. The hour of our death. The hour of our resurrection. The hour of our standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's right there. And Allah has done us a great favor by not letting us know when that hour is. But it is very close. And we can't bank on being imbalanced now only to gain balance later on in our lives. So in my personal search for balance, because each and every one of us are looking and desiring the same thing in life. It's not that some people have different desires and different needs than others. All of us are suffering, especially living in this country. Each and every one of us are suffering from the same ailments, the same diseases, spiritual diseases, physical diseases that affect everyone else. So as an example, you might come from a country, parents might come from a country where the cancer level is very low. But you move to America and you start eating like us and living like us and doing like us, and your cancer rate goes up. Might come from an area where heart disease is not a big problem. But we come here, we eat like we eat here, heart disease develops. The same is true not just of physical ailments, but of spiritual diseases also. Every spiritual disease, spiritual illness that affects this society as a whole also affects us, because we're part of this society. We live here. And so we are also going to get the illnesses and the diseases that the others around us also have. One of these illnesses is lack of balance in life. So in my own search for some answers in this from ahadith, from Quran, I came across some years ago a hadith from Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam. Salawat. read this hadith some years ago, many years ago, when we were studying, and I'd been looking for this hadith for a very long time, and finally we found it. Alhamdulillah, one of the books at the house. Imam Ahmad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam says, divide your life into 4 time periods. He uses in the Arabic sa', an hour, but it doesn't literally mean 4 hours. It means 4 time periods. And this is a hadith that can serve each and every one of us in attempting to maintain balance in our daily lives. So Imam Ahmad al-Baqir says 4 time periods. Divide your life into 4 time periods. Number 1, a time period for yourself and your relationship with your Lord. That's 1 time period. Number 2, a time period for your family. Number 3, a time period for your friends. And I want to make it very clear here. In the hadith, Imam uses the word for those close associates, those close friends, people that are like family. So when we say friends, we're not just talking about associates that we have at school or at work. Those who are very qareeb and very close to us, they also get a slot of time. And so we've mentioned time for Allah, time for family, time for close associates, and finally then, 1 time for seeking your livelihood. 1 period of time for seeking your livelihood. Now these are 4 time periods. Let's put it into 24. 4 into 24 is what? 6. How many hours do we work a day? 10 or 12? So right there, we're losing time. We're taking away time from the other things that time should be put into and spending on seeking a livelihood. Now, understand, I'm not telling you to quit your jobs. I'm not telling you to go to your boss and say, boss, I can only work 6 hours today. But look at this. Imam is saying spend 1 of these time periods in seeking a livelihood. If we were to put these 4 time periods into a 24-hour period, that's only 6 hours for each. I doubt any of us here spend 6 hours with our families. Solid 6 hours with our families. Solid 6 hours with our friends, building that relationship. Another hadith from Imam Ahmad al-Baqir, when you've had a friend for more than 20 years, this is not friendship anymore. It is family, it's kinship. It's not friendship anymore, it's kinship. So these friends that we have are very important. How much time do we spend with them? Do we spend 6 hours with our friends? What about sleeping? Where does sleeping mix into these 4 time periods? Do we spend 6 hours with Allah and worshiping Allah? And does that mean 6 hours of ibadat? Allahu Akbar. And 6 hours of qiyam and ruku and sajda? Is this what it means? When we talk about balance, this hadith can guide us in setting up a schedule for ourselves to assist us in maintaining this balance. Most important is that division of time that the Imam has given us in this hadith. So we have to pay attention to our families. We have to pay attention to our friends. We have to pay attention to our Lord. And we also have to seek a livelihood. One thing that can help us to maintain this balance is by giving each of these different groups their time. It's not just about going to work. Everybody know what Calvinism is? Calvinism is a branch of Christianity that really most American Christians, their ideology is based in Calvinism. Calvinism preaches that a man's worth, his spiritual attainments are seen in his work. And that's why you see such a strong work ethic amongst people here. It's not only that they want more money. It's that intrinsic to our culture here is this idea that I have to go to work and spend long hours at work. We have to rearrange our schedules as Muslims. The days of us neglecting our family so that we can go to work. Neglecting our religion so that we can go to work. neglecting our friends so that we can go to work. We have to rearrange our schedules to attain the balance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to enjoy and to maintain in our lives. So when we look at this idea of balance in our daily lives, then keep this in mind. We have to spend time with our families. And we should not neglect the time with our families, whether we're married or single. Family is important. Mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts, cousins. Very important. We have to give them their time. Life is so short. The verse that we read, it says, none of us knows when the hour is near. You know, one life-threatening moment in a person's life can change them. Imagine that. Someone ends up in the hospital, a car accident, a heart attack, a cancer diagnosis, whatever it may be. One life-threatening moment, and people make all type of resolutions and they change themselves. Just one incident in their life. Whereas we have it in hadith where the mu'mineen should see their deaths 70 times a day. Imagine if we were keeping track of ourselves on that level, that we knew that at any moment we could pass on and leave this world. We would spend the time that we need to spend with our families, with our friends, and with our Lord. And work would probably be way down on the bottom of the list for as far as we would divide our time. So how do we get to this place of balance? Take this hadith that I've related to you, but one thing that I can advise to you, that was advised to me by my own teachers, all of the ulama advise this. If we're going to reach the stage of creating balance in our lives, one thing that's absolutely necessary is scheduling. How many of us here have a schedule? That we wake up at a certain time, we do a certain thing at a certain time. When we're done with that, we have that time after that scheduled, and our days are scheduled out for us. Success, balance can only be achieved by establishing a schedule and sticking to it. And so, in pursuing balance, attempting to attain balance, and to live a balanced life, then keep in mind these 4 divisions that we've mentioned, and also begin scheduling our lives according to these 4 divisions, so that inshallah immediately we won't get there. It will take work, weeks, months, God forbid, years to attend and to attain to this balance. But through hard work, and especially through this idea of making a schedule and sticking to it, then we'll be able to attain this balance in our own lives. And the benefits that come from this balance are overwhelming in our lives. Right now, we're so stressed out. How many people in the country are on anxiety medications? People are anxious. They're filled with fears and that kambudi, that weakness and that lack that each and every one of us feels in our lives. And the only way to satisfy that and to heal that is through balance. And the only way to attain towards balance is to understand what's important in life and to schedule our lives accordingly, inshallah. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should forgive us and have mercy on each and every one of us here. Ya Allah, give shifa'at al-ruhi, shifa'at al-badani to each and every one of us present here.